we're gonna go to our next topic, and that is in Illinois, a house owner was going to be fined because she painted her home in a rainbow pattern. The city said she was in violation of an ordinance that required all houses to be in a similar color. Eventually, though, they backed down. Should the government be allowed to, in any way, interfere with the homeowner's decisions outside the realm of public safety? Should a homeowner be allowed to make changes that will lower the property values of other houses in their neighborhood? Should they be allowed to have offensive messaging on their home? So this is actually an old story. This is I forget where it was, but like a house. It looked pretty, like just rainbow color, and the city tried to interfere. But this got me thinking of all kinds of other ways in which city governments interfere with your house. I mean, like, if you are the sovereign of your own, that's your domain. Why can't you do what you want with it? And there's lots of places we can take this, right? And does it matter? Does it matter if, as long as, like, you aren't like starting like you didn't like have an oil spill on your lawn, right? And the toxic fumes are like wafting into someone else's home and hurting them. As long as you haven't done that, shouldn't you be able to do like what you want? That's your property, right? So we'll go down the line with opening statements. Thank you, GSU Gambit, please.
Yeah, so, okay. I had to make sure my mic was. But so when we say government, it's good that you called out local government. I am a big supporter of power like this being as local to the community as possible. I do think there could be some reasonable restrictions. I don't know if I would support them banning this house particularly, but I can't. There are things outside of I think the question specifically asked about public safety. There's something I'm pretty sure I can think of outside of public safety. I can't think of it offhand right now, but this example would not be one of those. I do think homeowners should have the right. I think outside of some sort of local HOA or something that's restricting you, then I don't see why the city government would have a say in this. So I think this is that should be even more local than the city government. It should be at the HOA level. So people will be allowed to have offensive messaging on their home. Yeah, if there's no HOA against it, I guess we don't have an apparatus to police that. But this is why all of my friends that tell me to invest in real estate, this is why I don't. This is why I buy stocks, because I would have to deal with stuff like this and people devaluing houses. So, yeah.
Scott.
Yeah, man, GSU, I was going to bring up the HOAs. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, your property is your property. Do whatever the hell you want with it. If you want to paint your house some gauche rainbow, like, that's on you. Apparently, most of the people in the community actually liked it, even though the fucking nanny state wanted to come in and, like, be pissy about it, right? In terms of offensive messaging, I don't care what you put on your house. Put anything you want on your house, right? I mean, if your property ends up getting burned and you have to, that might be an issue for you, and that sucks, and they should prosecute people for doing that. But, like, there's a certain level of risk from a certain amount of offensive shit you put on your house. But at the end of the day, like, zoning laws, building codes, all of this shit is fucking stupid, right? Like, it easily can be handled by insurance companies and HOAs. There's no reason for the government to get involved in this in any way, shape, or form. If you want to build a pool with no railing that's slippery as fucking dangerous, well, you know what? Your fucking property insurance can deal with that shit. And they can laugh at you and tell you you're dumb and charge you an extra fucking $80 a month for building some stupid shit until you build some shit on your property that's not going to hurt anybody. There's no reason whatsoever for the government to be involved in this in any way, shape, form, or capacity.
Well, you've escalated this. Of course you did. You can rely on Scott to do that. But
libertarians eating Tide Pods because they value freedom over safety.
So we'll get into it. I just want to say quickly now that GSU Gambit is gone. Fuck that guy. I mean, honestly, right? GSU Gambit? Screw that guy. We agree? We all agreed on this one?
He's my favorite.
No.
Hey, but if you want to fuck
He's
him,
the only
like,
person
I
that
just
would
go on
team up on
OnlyFans,
Voss.
okay?
I'm cool with them.
Let's go to counterpoints.
no, fuck this. Everybody can kind of make decisions at their city level in order to see whether or not they want to enforce these zoning laws and all that kind of stuff. And it can be a consultation when you purchase your property on whether or not they want to do it. So no, I'm completely okay with the city enforcing ordinances as long as those ordinances actually exist. And what I would say is you got to be careful. Because I basically dealt with a similar thing in my city. If you're getting bullied by your city, then demand that they show you the ordinance, because oftentimes they're trying to post hoc justify this bullshit. And if there's not something explicit on the books, then you could basically tell them to go fuck themselves, and they can't do shit about it because they literally can't pass an ordinance and then have you do it post hoc as long as the issue is documented. So basically, no, the city level is perfectly fine for what we're talking about here. And I think the main thing that we have to be aware of is just don't let the fucking city bully you. And also, fuck that ANCAP shit, basically. So,
Jason, please.
So, I might have a little bit of a different take than some other people, but like, I don't mind the idea of HOAs if you choose to live in an HOA and that's what you want to do. And, you know it ahead of time when you move into the place, you're signing up for it. And you got to live by those rules and regs. Hey, you signed up for that shit. Like, own it, Otherwise, move the fuck out. You knew. Or become a member of the HOA and start facilitating the change that you want to see, instead of sitting on your ass and bitching about the fact that they don't like what you're doing. Where it comes to the city and city ordinances, they have a responsibility, on some level to maintain an aesthetic, because there are property values affected by that. However, I think that a lot of that could be solved outside of city ordinances and could just be solved through litigation. There is opportunity for that. If they can prove that what somebody put on their house actually lowered the property value of my house when I went to sell it, sure, why not? There's nothing wrong with that. I do think that there can be some little gatekeeperisms with all of these, where like there are people that may be disadvantaged, maybe they're elderly, maybe they're disabled and aren't able to keep up on their properties the way that people would like. So, I think there's a lot that has to be taken into consideration with this shit. Like, I don't think it's a clear black and white thing. I think it's contextual. So if the city ordinances can cater to those things, and if the HOAs can cater to those things, then yeah, fine, so be it. If they don't, then people need to get involved and do something to make a change there. But I think it ultimately revolves around the people getting involved locally on their local level, whether that's HOA, whether that's your city council, shit like that, to make the changes that you want to see there. If you're disengaged and disinvolved, well, that's your fault.
Okay. Doobie. If you're talking,
I can answer for Doobie. He
I was
loves
muted.
power.
I do love power. That is true. So yeah, I actually agree with everything Connor said. I think that if you want to paint your house, rainbow, and it makes the neighborhood look like shit, or you don't want to take care of your lawn, or you want to have like 10 cars just sitting out in your grass, and it drives down the property prices in the city, well, fuck you. You shouldn't be there if you can't keep your shit in order in what's the word I'm looking for? Compliance. There we go. In compliance with whatever the ordinances are in the city. If you don't like the ordinances, get them changed. That you guys like democracy so much. Go do democracy and get it changed. Fuck it.
Okay. All right. Wordy.
Yeah. So, I mean, I looked into that specific instance. So it seems to me the confusion was the city accidentally enforcing like an ordinance, assuming that it was a new property whenever she was like already owning the property. So like the whole confusion there, like it was able to be quickly resolved. That's what the article I linked earlier. And I think we have to understand, even if the HOA is like on a local level, it's still enforced by state regulations. So there's still some kind of like interacting systems that kind of like develop like what kind of policies you're going to have, what kind of regulations you're going to have generally, while there's going to be some level of variance within the different HOAs, right? And I think the issue that comes with like a lacking regulation, even if you are like opposed to like government overreach, right? We have to understand is like when we don't have like regulation on some level, we see the consequences, like in Florida, where we have like an entire like different like a condo collapse. And the issue that comes is like that's an extreme example, but but having regulation doesn't necessarily produce worse outcomes. It makes better outcomes because they're like healthier standards. They make better property values. Like all these like relationships like occur better. So like basically is I think the issue then comes is less of kind of their control. It's more of like how much you can interact with them. So it's like more transparency would probably be a better thing, and more like probably degree of freedom you could have in the HOA. Like if you're not going to cut the grass like a certain length. Like I have this dude who lives in my neighborhood who's my dad's best friend who is like an asshole about it. He's like, you're doing this wrong, doing this. He does like the fake tickets and everything. And like ultimately we have to come down to is like how people are just going to be like bitches about it.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, so as much as I wish we could do, just everybody can do whatever they want on their property. I think there's obviously some problems to that. One thing I want to say is I'm pretty sure that no matter where you purchase a house, if there are any type of rules or anything like that, as like specifically to like aesthetics or what you can and can't have on your property, like I'm pretty sure that's known to the buyer. So I think upon that purchase, you're agreeing to all those terms. So even from a libertarian perspective, I think that's perfectly reasonable. I don't think there's anything like if you're coming in there and then you all of a sudden want to change your mind and do all these things to it. Like you signed this contract when you purchase this home, agreeing to all these things. So I think that's perfectly fine. But what I do have a problem with is when governments want to go beyond what's reasonable. So we see like obviously like Wardy brought up the case in Florida. I think that was a case where the government went the opposite way of where they needed to go as far as like the regulations and stuff for the building codes and whatnot. But then we have states like California that go the complete opposite and make you do like 1 million different ground soil studies to build a fucking shed in your backyard. So I think it's kind of like a balancing game of where we find that happy medium. And I think that if you want to live in a place where you have more freedom, live out in the country where people don't give a shit about what you do on your property. I mean, that's the best option. If you have to live in a city somewhere, know what you're buying, know what what your requirements, what your obligations are, and just go from there. I don't have any sympathy for anybody that gets in trouble for doing something drastic because they signed up for that. On the other hand, if somebody is the government oversteps after the fact, maybe then there might be a case for that being unreasonable as well.
Spoon.
So I will say I'm not really one for robust individualism. Okay, I'm a normie. Okay, I'm a hardcore normcore over here. Okay, I love being fucking normal. When I see shit like this, I just think, man, you're just stop being so fucking weird. Like, I know it's your right and everything, but it's just a bit weird, right? Like it's fine that you want to do that, but it is a bit weird, right? I'm an anti-extremist, right? I'm extremely against extremism. I don't like things that are weird. They're just like too out there.
It's the Britbonger version of layman.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I'm a layman. So
Connor, you didn't even laugh from sound.
So
it's okay because I didn't know which one you meant.
Layman is the Canadian guy.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense, right? I'm okay with these like home associations and like local councils being like, hey, you can't have your house like that, but only if like all the neighbors are like, your house is fucking ugly, man. It's dragging all our house prices down. Can you not have a weird, ugly house, please? But like in this case, everyone was fine with it. So like, I don't know, have your fucking ugly house. I don't care, you fucking widow.
Hell, make a home union. Okay?
Yeah. So what about? So yeah, everyone was happy with this particular home, but what if when people simply aren't happy, right?
No.
Yeah.
Right. Normalcy prevails.
Normalcy prevails.
It's not their problem.
Normcore.
What if it's a house with a bunch of Nazi flags painted all over it?
Well, technically, you also
you want to
don't
engage?
actually.
Yeah,
I can engage with that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
you don't.
Go ahead.
I mean, I actually have a nice little story for this. I was walking my kids through my mother's neighborhood over Thanksgiving because, they eat and you want to put them out and it doesn't work unless you give them a nice little fucking stroller ride through the neighborhood. Then they'll finally pass out. And I saw multiple houses with Black Lives Matter signs with the fist. To me, that's an offensive hate symbol of communism. That offends me. I think it's fucking disgusting, and anybody that puts that symbol out on their front yard is probably an asshole.
Yeah, but what
at the very least doesn't know what the fuck
has Black Lives Matter killed like 6 million Jews?
Oh, hold on.
I was going to say, are they genocidal?
They've certainly killed more people in America this last 2 years.
Do not invoke.
Have you ever heard of the white genocide?
Do not
Right?
This is
smoke
real?
So to me, that's a
Oh, I
hate
thought
crime.
this was a
Don't do
meme.
this.
Some
Please
people,
don't do
that's to me. I mean, that's why George Orwell had to leave Spain because of the
I mean, I
fucking,
didn't realize it was
the
hateful to fight
communist
for freedom,
fucking
you
piss
know,
that was
fuck me.
killing people, right?
No, it was
That
the
symbol
Alright,
has
wait.
a lot of hate
Hold on,
and a
hold
lot
on,
of
wait.
death and a lot of genocide behind it.
Yeah.
But at the
So
same
let's-
time, I understand that to that person, it means whatever the fuck they want it to mean. And they have the freedom and the liberty to put up whatever hateful symbol they want. So
you-
when I see that, I
Wait,
keep
Fabian.
walking because that's their fucking
Do you
property.
understand this
Fabian, before you
comparison?
stop, hold on. Before you stop, we need to
Awful
know if
take.
you're meme. We need to know if you're memeing or not.
No, he's
No,
not.
he's not.
He's not.
I don't think he's being
I
I actually
I
agree
do think
with
the
him.
Black Lives
I
Matter
agree
symbol
with
is hate.
Fabian on this one. I think that it's I don't agree with it personally, right? But if somebody wants to put something that's like just a symbol of a shape of whatever, like that's not obscene to me in the sense of like something that was actually obscene, like a murder scene or like graphic pornographic content. Like those are the type of things that we already have laws for. And I think that's what we should kind of like stick towards. If
no,
somebody wants to fly a Nazi flag outside their house, what do you really have to say about that as far as like what can legally be done about it, right?
No, I'm
I
talking
don't
about
think that's-
actually
I
painting
know
the whole
never to
house
hang
as a
out with
Nazi
that person.
flag. I'm talking
someone
about
is-
painting the whole
Sure.
house. The whole house
Sure.
is just Nazi'd up.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
look,
if that's
it's
what they want to
painted with
do,
Nazi
like,
flags on the house, right?
No,
If someone
let's-
paints the whole house with Nazi symbols, I'm gonna knock on their door and we'll be like, "Hey, man, it looks like another Black Lives Matter activist painted your house. Would you to try and make a news story like they did a bunch? Would you like me to help you paint your house? Because I find it extremely unlikely that
And
there's
if they
gonna
said
be an
no?
actual house where someone paints their house with a bunch of Nazi.
Somebody
like you're
painted
talking
their
about a
house as
one
a
in a million.
fucking- as a
situation.
rainbow flag, right?
Let's go full
Somebody
meme
painted
here.
their house as a
You're
pride
not allowed
flag.
to paint
Hold
your
on.
flag.
So
like,
why
You know what I
not?
mean? Like the
you know?
guy probably needs someone to help him paint his house. Like
Hold on, let's-
somebody tried to make a news story by painting Nazi stuff on his
let's
house.
say he says no.
Y'all are finna
If he says
continue
no, then I know
this.
never to hang out with that piece of shit. And then we're good. Like, I don't need the government to come in and fucking try and drive these fucking hateful people underground. Do whatever
So
the
what
fuck you want
happens
with your
when-
property.
What happens when your property value tanks because of what they're doing on their property?
Then you should have bought a fucking house in a goddamn HOA or something.
then you sue them and you have to prove that it caused that. And I think in that case you would
Yeah,
win that
probably
lawsuit.
actually, because that's a negative
Yes.
externality, right? Like it's
Yeah.
no different. It's no different
My
than let's
issue
say
is
them building a condo in front of your mountain view, right? Like you can usually sue for those things because it's a negative externality where deeply, like you weren't involved in the contract between the buyer and the seller, right? You were a third party and you
Breaks
were
the
hurt.
non-aggression principle.
so
wait.
Right, you
So
were
that
hurt.
means
So
you're
like you
saying
could
that
sue
you
that.
wait,
sue
wait,
BLM,
let's-
BLM people for having BLM flags?
What's that?
Wait.
I'm sorry, one more time.
Are you saying then that you would sue BLM people for having BLM flags if it lowered your property value?
If it lowered my property value, yeah, probably.
if you could
Wait.
prove that, then sure.
If I could
Can
prove
I-
that, yeah,
can-
but
can I-
probably wouldn't because it's socially
wouldn't be able to,
acceptable,
yeah.
even
Can
though
I-
it's personally offensive.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think there are like degrees of like subjectivity here when we compare like the Nazi flag or the Confederate flag to the BLM flag?
Absolutely. Some people are going to be deeply offended. Some people aren't
No,
going to
but
be
like,
offended at all.
but like social standards, we understand like the BLM flag and its connections, like versus
Well,
like
right. Obviously, that's why I saw 3 or 4 of them in the neighborhood, and I didn't see a single fucking Nazi flag in the neighborhood, right?
yeah,
Like,
because we understand Nazis are like not even comparable in this area. It doesn't even make like sense to make comparisons here because it feels a little
the
disingenuous.
society that we have doesn't realize that the commies are just as bad as Nazis.
Okay, but if you start making cultural Marxism argument, let's not.
I mean, we can talk
Yeah,
about
but-
the prison papers and and stuff like that. Cultural Marxism is an academic
Yeah,
term.
y'all
If you
can
want me to
follow-
fucking hint at the
Yeah.
at
so
them
hold on,
for the
Smithsonian
memes,
sense.
Well, no, wait. Hey, just to let everybody know, if y'all want to hear that, Wordy and Fabian are going to continue at 11:30 once this panel
Hey,
is done.
I didn't
have to
say
go back
that.
to the
Wait, I had to go work on. I had to go
No.
work on my paper. We can have a debate later. I just feel like after this,
No,
we're
no,
just gonna,
I'm
like,
just
take a
saying that-
break.
If I wanted to debate you, I would debate you on whether or not ANCAPs
I'm
are.
just
Yeah.
trying to deflect
Yeah,
from y'all.
That's
taking-
fine.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
that's
please.
another
But no,
time.
but
like that's
being-
something
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
But to get back on topic though, like as a black person in the South, we see Confederate flags everywhere, all over houses. So the concept of offensive messages hanging from houses is literally like a normalcy. So
Yeah, I live in the
I,
South too.
I don't support that. I don't support people throwing Nazi flags up either. I don't think BLM is comparable. I think that's hilarious that has been made. But even though I'm not really pro BLM, but yeah, I think that we can see hateful symbols displayed all across houses all over the southern part of this country. So the concept that this is something that we could talk about in theory, it's actually here. It's actually
yeah.
real.
So
Exactly.
well, let's move off. I don't think any of us believe in government regulation here, unless you have direct financial effect. But what's interesting
is that true?
Yeah, I was about to say, I believe
disagree.
like a motherfucker in the state. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Yeah.
well, in
disagree
terms of
completely.
regulating what you can cover on your property.
No, I don't know.
Well,
I
it
think
depends
there
on
should
what's
be,
viewable
yeah.
from the what's viewable from the public. I think the city, and particularly in close-in suburbs, if you're on 10 acres by yourself and you got your fucking furry Nazi Confederate flag or whatever, who gives a shit? But if you're in a fucking suburb that's 1/8 acre lots and everybody else can see your shit, yeah, absolutely, I think that should be regulated, and not just by the HOA, but I think the municipality could make regulations about that. And then I think there's something to be said for grandfathering in. So for instance, you can check this out. I used to work in a city called Mount Dora. There's something called the Van Gogh House. They painted it. One of their children had autism, so they painted their house the Van Gogh Starry Night things. And so this helped the kid. Number one, it helped the kid get home, and then number two, people could direct the kid home. So that was really cool. Well, the city tried to give them a bunch of shit about it, claiming that the reason why I was talking about ordinances is you want to double check it. They claimed that there was an ordinance that prohibited it, and it was bullshit. The city was just making shit up in order to get rid of what they viewed as an eyesore, despite the community disproportionately actually liking the home a lot. So I think there's absolutely potentials for abuse of power, and I think that individual citizens need to be wary of that. But as far as if it's viewable to the public, absolutely municipalities can make regulations for this shit.
Yeah,
I don't give a fuck about that at all.
Yeah,
That's
what if it
fine.
was, you've seen on the sides of buses, right? Buses have those latex wraps, right? What if you latex wrapped your house with porn, with a pornographic scene, right? Genitals and everything, right?
Exactly.
And you were right next to a school, right? You did that. It's your home. It's on your property. No one is not touching anyone, right? No one's been assaulted, but do we not want to do anything about that?
Yeah, I mean,
if you live in
but
Afghanistan, whatever.
You're
Everyone
already
here
violating all
understands
sorts of
that-
other laws by doing
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think the thing here is that we need to make a distinction between what we want, right, and then what the reality of the situation is, right? Because when you talk about latex wrapping your house with pornographic material, right, it's just waifu cartoons of nothing but Ahigo faces, right, right next to a fucking school, and they're all lolly, right?
What does that mean?
do you think that?
Ever,
Okay,
right?
lolly, it's pedo shit. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
It's all
I think
right.
faces is when they
Right.
cross their eyes out,
The thing of
cross their eyes and go,
The fact
Please
of the
don't
matter-
do that. No.
The fact of the matter is, right? So the fact of the matter is if we lived in a society where municipalities weren't regulating this, insurance companies, HOAs, and a lot of other things would be, right?
When did you start
You
believing
wouldn't build-
corporations?
I'm sorry, what?
He's an
When did you
ACAP.
start believing in big corporations, insurance companies?
Well, I mean, insurance companies don't have to be large corporations, right? And also,
They
as an
generally
ACAP,
are,
I don't believe in corporations at all. I believe in companies, right? I think limited liability is fucked up, and it's just a way that the state allows corporate people at the top to make money and gut their own fucking employee force and tank their company and pump and dump stocks.
Yeah, I was memeing. Just keep going.
Yeah, but no, but the thing is that if you lived in a society where municipalities weren't making these laws, there would be other financial regulations that would be made. You'd see more HOAs. You'd see HOAs that were a lot softer, right?
Can I tell you exactly why I'm not an ANCAP? And this is pertinent to your example.
Sure,
So
go
basically,
ahead.
I've worked with it. I've worked with insurance companies. Insurance companies don't want to take on fucking risk. They'll literally stop writing in certain areas. And there's certain areas of the country that are literally not writable. Hold on.
It's called
Buddy, I'm still talking. You talk for a long time. I want to talk for a long time. Just fair is fair, all right? So basically what I wanted to say is there are certain areas of this country that are literally not writable. So while I can see,
it's called
hold
excess
on.
and surplus.
Oh my God. So can I finish the fucking point? So basically there are places in this fucking country that are literally not fucking writable by a private institution because they don't want to take on the fucking risk. And as a result, the only people who can mandate that anybody covers anything is the fucking state. So that's where you can try to explain this shit to me, but basically saying oh yeah, you can get insurance. It's just going to be $10,000 a month or no coverage at all. Like, that's not exactly the W that I'm fucking looking for.
Yeah, well, there's a ton of problems with what you're saying. Number one, there's excess and surplus private insurance, right? So there's insurance that specializes in the quote unwritable insurance. Number two, right? You're not going to build a school next to a situation that doesn't already have that isn't already in the market in some capacity in that way, right? Like, you're not going to build a school next to a neighborhood where someone could latex wrap their shit, right? So, like, a lot of these problems go
Why
away.
not? Do people,
why would you do
communities
What
not
about
need
neighborhoods
education?
that get older
Right.
and they lose HOAs and city ordinances start to become more lax because they're not necessarily high-income areas
Yeah, you get a lot
anymore?
of assumptions
There's still
there.
schools in those areas.
That's when you
There's still
deal with
schools in those
that's when you
areas.
deal with
One
negative
second.
externalities and
Also-
arbitration or court.
Also,
I mean,
Alpha,
you just
Alpha,
proved-
wait, wait.
Wait, hold on.
Wait, one second. Can I
You
correct
just
something really
proved how
quickly?
optimistic you have to be to believe in something like ANCAP. Like, he's so optimistic that
Like-
it's impossible for a school to be in a neighborhood where somebody would do. Like,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is literally like brain cancer.
Like,
Have
this
you
is
been to
also
Houston?
brain cancer.
wait. This is also the issue.
This is brain cancer because you don't understand it.
Wait. This is also the issue. When you talked about like those companies, insurance companies that specialize, you never said
Mhm.
that they wouldn't be high premiums. The same issue that Connor pointed out. Like, you never actually attacked that point. And the issue.
No. Excess
No,
and
wait.
surplus.
I'm talking right now. Okay. So basically, what we
Thanks,
have to.
Mom. Like,
Yeah. Well, you see, I'm non-binary, so yeah. So basically, is we have to understand is like. The insurance companies, like, these issues exist regardless of government intervention, and so we use government intervention to offset like those like for example, like if a home already exists and it's already beside a school, and then the new homeowner decides to do that, how do you deal with that? And then the insurance company says, "Fuck this! I'm not going to cover this area because it has like some fucking asshole or something." Like, this is the problem: is you're assuming like in the process of developing areas, but you also have to understand already existing areas, like circumstances change, assholes move in, move out.
yeah, the market changes, right? People move.
So just
People-
move.
Yeah, I mean, that's just one solution. Another solution is arbitration. Another solution is suing someone because, like I said, through negative externality, right? Like, if I'm a school and I have a private school and then someone latex wraps their fucking house with lolly porn, I'm probably going to sue them. And I'm probably going to
Yeah,
win.
but-
That's an easy case to win. We don't need the state
Wait,
to
but it's their
intervene in this rule.
It's their
Well,
property.
the state is intervening through the courts. That's what the
And
courts
their
are.
property
Courts
has
are an
created a
extension
negative
of the state.
externality.
So what you're telling me is you have to use the state to sue them?
No, I said arbitration.
Wait, hold on.
Arbitration through the state,
Wait,
which
so hold on.
enforces that policy.
Wait, so what if you're broke as fuck and you
You're-
can't afford
Somebody has
arbitration?
to. Somebody
Okay, I mean,
has
like
to enforce
you're
the
getting
order
into
once
deep.
you
You're getting into
turn
deep cuts
into
of like
arbitration.
explaining
Wait, hold on, I
anarcho-capitalism,
think-
but there's like rights enforcement agencies. There's a lot of other.
Literally, you're
economic
just
variables.
recreating the state.
State. Yeah.
Says
Well,
the
well,
guy
Bernie, I
who
can
wants
say
to
the
use
same
the
shit
fucking
about you,
state.
buddy.
I can-
means I
Wait,
want
guys,
to.
I need to-
creating
I'd
the
like to
state and
correct
selling
something
it
really
out to the
quickly.
lowest bidder.
I'd like to correct
Yeah.
something really quickly because you said that Connor was incorrect. When he said that there are certain areas of the country that just can't be insured. There's
Without
you're
state
just flat out wrong, right? Excess and surplus lines companies aren't going to take every fucking risk. In fact, here in California, they had to, the state had to get involved and mandate that any property insurance company that does business in the state needs to be part of the California Fair Plan, which is an insurance pool that they need to throw money into, where they provide basic ass insurance to anybody who wants it, no matter how risky their exposure is. This is mandated by the state, and these policies are shit. They're expensive as fuck, and they only cover fire. They don't cover anything else, right? So, yeah, there are situations where the risk is too great and the state needs to intervene, or these people will just not have coverage, so just not have protection because no private insurance company is going to want to touch it otherwise.
And
Well,
why
here's
are
like-
those areas so shitty to begin with?
Well, here's a real example.
Poor fucking
literally,
them.
Wait, no. It's brush. Literally
just curious.
brush.
Well, here's an
Brush
example.
is- they're
because
decomposing forests.
because
They're-
the California does a terrible job. of
No,
managing
no,
the
that's
forest.
ridiculous.
Oh,
No, it's
hold
just
on.
the
They don't
too
sweep
close
their
forests.
forests
They're
enough.
too close. Hold on. Not even the presence of any fucking trees is toxic to an insurance company. They don't want trees around your house, right? So if there's a forest a mile away, a lot of companies aren't going to write that shit, right? Because they know that if that forest catches fire, shit's going to be flying in the wind and get onto
So if you
your
want to
roof and
build a
burn your
neighborhood
house
next
down.
to a forest,
They
then
do the
fucking
same shit.
cut
No,
down
but
the
if the
trees.
neighborhood's
Same shit.
already
They
there.
do
We
the
don't even
same
have to
shit-
get
no,
into
one
the
second. They do the
details.
same
This is
shit to
ridiculous.
houses that are built along the coast. Sometimes the state doesn't need to intervene. So you can't just have people being able to do any fucking thing they want and
state does not
and
need to
toss the
intervene.
responsibility for covering these things and to make sure that they're not a risk to their neighbors' houses onto private insurance companies because they're not going to cover it.
Well,
I don't
okay,
think
and then
anybody-
Fabian, have you
Literally,
ever heard? Hold on, hold on, hold on.
Catches on fire.
No,
Have
they
you
do not
ever
have to be
heard
posted
of
for
a like price elasticity? Like you've heard of that shit, right?
Obviously.
Okay, so there's there's like products and services that people have to get in order to fucking protect themselves, and as a result, there's like you can be fucking strong-armed by corporations. Or, like, I'm sorry for taking
Price
this to just like
elasticity is the state getting involved.
No,
right? And pushing
Are you
price towards
serious?
price
No,
ceiling.
price elasticity
Almost all
exists.
of-
The
No,
market
price
does not
You didn't let me
elasticity
finish.
exists
You didn't
before
let
the
me
state
finish.
intervenes. Like in
You
terms of
didn't let me
healthcare,
finish.
Probably because
price
you were
elasticity
fucking
already
wrong.
exists.
You didn't let me finish. I said in most instances, right, price elasticity is caused by governmental policy anyways,
No.
right? Because the supply and demand equation would meet in the middle where it's supposed to anyways. Price elasticity ends when you have marginal social utility, when you have other factors, right, that then start to move this product, right?
No,
then
you're
with
wrong.
price
Can I ask you a
elasticity from it moving because there's some type of state intervention almost all of the time.
No,
Obviously,
no,
this
no, no,
happens
you're
in-
Hold
wrong.
on, wait,
Like
wait.
supplier-induced
I just wanna ask
demand. Like
Wait, Fabian.
Yes.
Fabian, is the Earth flat?
Really? Obviously,
Yeah.
the Earth is not fucking flat. Like we knew this.
Okay,
like
gotcha.
the ancient
I'm just
Greeks
trying to
knew
see-
this.
Okay,
No,
so
I'm just-
so
I'm
this is
just
the
trying to see
frustration
how far
here,
this goes.
FLS. Okay, you're proposing
a
that the
cube,
state
by the way. It's a
intervening.
cube.
No, like no, these like disproportionate and like
Velociraptor.
like in terms of like actual like price elasticity, like homes, healthcare, like these fundamental things that people have to get, and there's like a lot like lack of marketability. You fundamentally have the unequal like Pareto distribution. Like these things exist regardless of state
Right.
intervention, and then the problem that comes is not that the state intervenes, it's about how they intervene. Okay, so like, and if you
Right.
if you have better regulations that helps like fix these issues in price elasticity, it helps improve like home ownership. Like that's the problem. It's not necessarily state intervention in the first place, it's about how they intervene.
And they always intervene by stealing from the wealth of the nation.
So, if I may understand
That's
your point,
nothing.
Fabian.
That's not useful here.
If I may understand your point, Fabian, so you think you should be able to plastic wrap your house in porn, and then other people should be able to sue for the externalities that, like, the way you present your house causes, right?
Exactly.
Right. So
If you
have
do
to prove-
ridiculous shit, you ought to be able to sue it. I just don't need
Right.
the state to intervene in this.
Right.
regard.
So you think that you should be able to do whatever you want with your house, and then people would have to prove that, like, your house is affecting them.
Yes.
Do you not see
What if
how
they
that
don't
could?
want to be a part of arbitration?
Yeah. Do you see how this like
But
could,
they
like
don't have money.
yeah, this could be like a very biased system. So like let's say I live right next to a school. I wrap my house in loads of fucking pornography all over my house.
Mhm.
And then
He's a
it,
leftist, so you know he'll do it.
yeah, I will. I actually hate pornography, but still. Anyway, so I do that, but I'm really rich. I'm super fucking rich. I'm a capitalist. I sold the vaccines and it made me a lot of money. So I'm super fucking rich. So they take me to court, but I got this fucking crank team of lawyers, right? And I win the case. And now I get to keep the porn. I get to keep the porn next to the school. Is that not a problem? No.
Yeah, well, it's not I mean, like, sure, it's feasible, it's possible, right? But there's all kinds of governmental breakdowns where fucked up shit happens because of the wealthy, right? I mean, like, yes, you can take something to its extreme and say, like, yes, this is a possible negative thing. This is why I'm not arguing for a utopic situation here, but one of the things is that arbitration firms are designed very differently from the state, because the state almost always is in favor of the large wealthy individuals, whereas arbitration, while you may have better lawyers in the situation, number one, both individuals likely have lawyers on retainer through their rights enforcement agency, and number two, what is also occurring is that the arbitration firm stands to make more money by leveraging their bias towards the individual.
I own
with
the
less
arbitration
money.
company.
Okay, so you own the arbitration company.
I own the arbitration company.
How are you owning the arbitration company
I'm
and
the
you're the
CEO.
Because you
property?
create a company to fill a need. Like that's
yeah.
it's a
Okay,
whole
well,
supply
then-
demand
then
issue.
I'm-
I need to live somewhere. I'm an
Right.
arbitration
Well,
property
I'm not
owner.
using. If I'm a school,
need
I'm
to
not
live
using
somewhere.
a fucking arbitration company owned by my neighbors.
Well, no, but I'm gonna
Why
open my
not?
arbitration
Like that's how it
company.
works already.
No, that's
Yeah,
not
why
how.
do you
Like,
get
I
to
wouldn't
do-
do that.
Why you get to monopolize?
I don't think there would
Yeah,
only
why
be
do you
one.
get
There
to
wouldn't
pick
be
the
just
arbitration
one.
There isn't a
arbitration.
monopoly. There's multiple arbitration.
Yeah, but
companies.
then
And
most
I'm not-
arbitration companies want to outcompete each other, then they can eventually kick each other out of the market. Like,
Yeah, except monopolistic tendencies are almost always supported by the state. Free market capitalism doesn't
was
support
always the
monopolistic.
state
free
all
market
along.
capitalism recreates monopolies. We've seen this in the early 20th and the late 19th
That's not free
century.
market capitalism in any
You
way,
guys
shape,
just
or
do the-
form.
you guys do the-
It wasn't real
Yeah,
capitalism.
come on. Yeah.
You're not going to
You
explain
did
how
it.
that's just a
He did
ludicrous
the meme. He did the meme.
historical.
Fabian.
Good one, Colin. Nice to meet you,
Actually, Fabian, I feel like we're dogpiling you, Fabian, so I feel bad. But I also feel like you're intelligent
point
enough.
is ridiculous.
I feel like you're intelligent enough to deal with it, so I don't feel that bad.
It's like I could just agree with you all, like, and then we can just move on. But everyone agreed, so I'm like, fuck it, like, let's throw in some extra shit.
No, that's dumb. But you said earlier that the house is their property, and they should be able to do whatever the fuck they want with it, right?
Right.
And I can understand that sentiment. But I'm curious, like, how far you take that. Not just with a house, like with other forms of property. Like, let's say I purchased a dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that because this dog is my property, I should be able to do whatever the fuck I want with it?
I think you're getting into the realm of like animal rights, right? Like what rights does an animal have?
Yeah,
well,
if
this is
my
actually
property
like,
legally.
legitimately.
The animal,
like,
I won't
even
employ a rights enforcement agency. He's going to get a dog rights enforcement agency.
Right. This is like literally one of the things that I do actually and honestly struggle with. Right. It's like, where do we draw the lines of rights for animal rights? In situations like that, how do we engage with that in the market? Like, it is not something that I personally have a solution for, but the beautiful thing about anarcho-capitalism, unlike central planners, is all of you guys just go, oh, well, we'll vote and we'll fix it. And then we say, like, there's a multitude of people that could be able to come up with solutions in this scenario. It is, without a doubt, the one thing that I do struggle with is how do we engage in that? I mean, I could theorize that we could use insurance companies again in this situation. I could theorize that, like, you could be excised from the community for certain things like that. Like, your HOA would no longer support you. Your rights enforcement agency, if they found out that, like, you were beating your fucking dog or that you were killing your dogs and eating them or your cats, like, could also refuse to protect you or make it insanely expensive.
It's almost like we should come up with like a bunch of.
What if you just choose not to give power to the rights enforcement agency? Like, what if you say, you don't fucking control me? Who the fuck are you? You're just some fucking rights enforcement agency. I don't give a fuck
controlling you. They're just not going to protect you anymore. And then you're not going to be able to have your rights protected.
It's almost like we should have like a community of elders come together and come up with rules that we can all agree on in order to abide by. That way, going forward, we don't have to debate whether or not John fucked his dog, and we can just not fuck dogs and have somebody from the fucking state go stick you in fucking bracelets in a cage if you start fucking dogs. It's almost like we should do that shit.
Don't call it.
We always end up debating ANCAP fucking theory every time FLS is on, and I know he doesn't want to go through this every single time. I know he does.
It's fucking annoying because I'm having to educate like people on what ANCAP theory is.
No, dude. Wait. See, that's the thing. You keep acting like you're educating us, like we don't understand. But like we already had this conversation last time where we figured out that anarcho-capitalism is such a fucking 10-head goddamn theory that all the fucking plebs can't figure it out. So we shouldn't even talk about it because it's not pragmatic. Because the fucking plebs don't get it.
Your freedom is not pragmatic.
FLS. I think.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, here's the best criticism I'm going to give you in the best good faith manner. The problem that comes with any anarchist theory, it's not that authoritarianism necessarily exists. It's about where we draw the lines. Okay. Like you and I would draw the lines at the state, right? But we also draw the lines at different economic institutions and different like relationships of power. So the issue is like, how do we draw those lines? And when we talk about just like, if we just go full anarchist, like you basically have to like just say like fuck society because society unfairly imposes authoritarian rule.
I'm not going and prim for you.
Yeah, but like we have to understand like. The problem comes is like in the process of like any like anarchist theory, we just
and if you wanted to have an entirely separate debate about it, right? Like there are tons of answers.
This entire debate has been over.
Yeah, but you're relying on anarchist theory, so I have to provide you a criticism.
I have one in my
now.
chat right now, FLS.
I have to provide you a criticism right now, and that's the issue. I have to provide the criticism right now because I don't even know if we'll ever have the debate, so I have to tell you right now is.
But this whole debate has been
if you feel like you need to attack anarcho-capitalist philosophy and then we want to get into a debate about it, like I can, right? We can talk about how rights enforcement agencies work. We can talk about how voluntarist covenant communities work. We can talk about how the market and insurance is supposed to work. We can go into all those things, but it's not the fucking topic of the debate panel. If you want to have a 1v1,
yeah, but you keep relying on it, so we have to talk about it.
I'm not relying on it. I'm saying I'm making an ethical argument that says that the state shouldn't be involved in these processes.
You're making an ethical argument based on your anarchist theory. We have to critique the theory.
Okay, wait. So to be totally fair to Fabian, Wordy, you're also an anarchist. You're just like a different kind.
Yes,
of
but I'm not trying to
Yeah, and
propose
frankly,
my.
I can't believe that you don't see half the
so why
arguments
don't you
that apply
guys-
to him apply to you.
Wait, hold on. So
Well,
why
it's
don't you
because I'm not
guys-
trying to
so
make
why
an
don't- wait,
argument for my
why don't you
anarchist
guys
theory
just
here.
set up a date with Prime, and you guys can get together and talk about your fantasy worlds in like in peace, right?
I'm not trying to talk about
Anarcho-fantasy.
Ancom
That's what
theory
you can
here. I
call the
don't
debate,
care about
Prime.
Ancom theory.
Anarcho-fantasies debate.
You know,
I don't
I'll just
care
leave it.
about my
I'll just
theory.
leave it at this. Chiron, Mexico is doing a lot better since they adopted anarchistic principles.
My prescription is just stop being so fucking weird. All right, just be a normie. Not cool.
3,000
More strikes
hectares-
again.
3,000 hectares of forest planted, boys.
I just don't
Okay,
care about
okay,
anarchist
alright,
theory.
alright,
Like,
so,
that's
okay,
it.
all
so
rad norm.
we don't have to focus on specifically that. Oh my god. But
Rad norms.
so do we care on this panel about the property values of neighbors, right? Does it matter if this is
Yeah.
in your backyard and these things happen, right? It's one thing to say that, oh, I have the rights to do all these things, with my property, right? My property, my rights. But it's different when someone else is exerting those rights over you. And what if you literally are trying to sell, and then you have what is a quote unquote eyesore on the other side? Is that fair? Should that be allowed to happen? Again, like, they're not hurting anyone other than maybe your possible bank
Your
account.
dogs.
This is why
hurting
you
my
always
bank account and my.
I think you have a
sensibilities.
societal
Yeah, I don't wanna go
responsibility
outside
to,
and see an
to your
ugly fucking house.
community. You know, like,
That's why you buy houses with an already established HOA. Yes. Everything.
No, we
Wait,
should
you're
just
saying
have
it can
house
only be at the
unions.
private level?
Say what?
Well, but so that would be like
Oh, we-
kind of like a private intervention, not a municipal intervention. So
Yeah.
that's what I was kind of
Well,
trying to get from your perspective. Are you saying that it should only be at the private level, or should it also be at the public level? Because for me, I don't give a fuck if it's at the public
No,
level.
good-
I would
good
prefer it to
que-
be at the public
Yeah,
level.
he's right. Counter
Good
is
question.
where I'm going with this.
Yeah, good question, because this is, I don't think I explained this well enough in my opening. I think that it's okay if the state has this power. I would much rather this power be in the hands of an HOA, though. But if there was a local government who had some rule on you can't have rainbow painted houses, I don't think I'd object to it. But I'd much rather see that at a more local level on things that are of that nature.
Do people agree with that then?
Yeah, that's a totally like reasonable take. But like for me, if I'm living in fucking Ancom society and fucking Doobie walks up and
God.
he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and ban all the fucking Japanese lolly porn fucking wrapped houses," then I'm gonna be like, "All right, well I'm supporting the state right now."
Why the
Instantaneously.
I haven't talked about Ancom theory at all. Why are we doing this?
Okay, fuck
No,
Ancom,
because
okay?
they love to meme on the anarchist stuff. It
Well,
happened-
I think it's fine to meme on you because you just bring it up the whole time. I haven't
No,
talked about my
Ancom's
theory
bad.
at all. I don't care. I don't care about Anacom theory. Okay, it's just it just doesn't matter.
You've been
I
supporting
think we
the
do have
state
a
the whole time.
responsibility to our communities. Like, I don't know if you could say you could talk policy wise, you could talk morally. I think morally though, like, everyone should feel somewhat of an obligation to their community to try to want their community to look better, want their community to look beautiful. I mean, obviously this rainbow house, right? They did it because they wanted their community to look beautiful. They were trying to add something to it, and the community resoundingly liked it, you know? I mean, if you're getting booze and shit thrown at your house, well, yeah, maybe you should think twice about what the fuck you painted it. But if everybody loves it, then...
But Jason, no. This is where I wanted to focus on, right? This idea of other people loving, of other people getting a vote. That's where we're like, that's where like the center of this argument is, like the core of it, right? Like,
But
other
I'm only
people-
speaking morally, you know?
Other
Have
people,
we
hold on. Other people getting a vote. So if that same house, now it was rainbow colored, but it was just like, it was clearly like a generic rainbow color, right? But what if they painted it in such a way that it was specifically referencing like the LGBT flag, right? They specifically are pro-LGBT. They want to show that off to the world, show it off to their neighborhood. However, they live in the southern states, which is unfortunate for many reasons. But they live in the southern states, and their neighborhood doesn't appreciate that. They don't appreciate that type of message. this is a Christian neighborhood. By that I mean there's mostly Christians there, right? And they don't appreciate that. It's the same house, right? Whether in the north or in the south or in the west, right? It's the same house, but now the neighborhood thinks differently about it. So, like, should that matter?
I got an answer, right? So have we considered the tyranny of the majority? Okay, maybe what we should have is some sort of electoral college that represents the
Oh
the
no!
lesser
Stop!
neighborhoods.
Get out of here! Get out of here! You
Yeah, maybe
Get the
we should
fuck
have
outta
some
here with
general
additional
rules
tyranny
for
of the
how we
majority.
conduct ourselves. Yeah.
So,
Weird.
I mean, like, basically, you would probably propose like multiple ways as a person can like find ways of recourse, right? Like either on a private level, or you could go through a public level, like through like either judicial court systems. Like, basically, we have to understand like certain ways of expression are protected. Like if you're like flag, or if you're like queer and everything, like that's protected class. How they extend to houses, I don't know. That'd be a question we could figure out. But like, you could probably like either go through private saying like, hey, like this is my home. Is this like decreasing your property values? If it's not, no, don't care then. But
yeah,
let's
re-legislate like animal abuse and just see like if everybody agrees on it, and we'll
leave people alone.
If John fucks his dog, we'll get like a private company to like arbitrate like the dog fucking and see like what he should pay restitutions to that species.
What if his dog likes
That's
it?
property, Connor.
Right? Yeah. I mean, you see, these are complicated questions. We need to figure them out again.
I'm gonna disregard the memes because you won't engage in the theory, and that's fine. But
no, honestly,
can't we just
here's my thing.
leave
I'm
people?
serious about my meme. Like I seriously think that like
socialism's a fucking meme. Cool.
It is a meme.
Okay, sure. I have no idea how wordy after all these fucking debates is still not a status. It actually fucking pisses me off. But at the same time, it's like
because
no,
he's lying. He's not.
No, I'm not.
The frustrating. Okay, hold on. The frustration that I fucking have with all goddamn anarchists is basically you reinstitute the state so fucking soon, or you prove why we have fucking states to begin with almost within like 20 seconds of fucking having a conversation. The reason why we've instituted fucking governments and republics and democracies and mixed governments and all that kind of shit is because of all the fucking problems that we just like highlighted, where some assholes would wrap their fucking homes in porn. So you know what we do is we have a bunch of fucking suburbs that are bland as shit. They're all painted predictable colors because there's one motherfucker that's gonna move in there and he's gonna paint his fucking house like Japanese fucking child porn. So we already know, like, this is why we have a state in the fucking first place. So I don't know why we have to re-legislate it.
That is an absurd view of history to think that the only reason that states were instituted, that nation states and monarchies came to be, right? And that we went from tribal anarchistic.
Yeah, it's because a bunch of Ancons were fucking their dogs, and they were like, "Hey, bro, like, don't fuck your dog, bro."
Anime child porn.
It was so we could have HOAs. It was all done so we could have HOAs.
It was because of the dog.
That's a terrible analysis of history.
We just need house unions,
that
okay?
it was just
House
personal
unions to negotiate with
issues between
local
neighbors.
municipalities, okay? House unions.
Okay, wait. So can I?
Yeah.
can I
Actually, if
say
you
this?
extrapolated out to a macro level of issues between neighbors, actually, yes, this is an accurate assessment of history. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead with the
That's not
historical.
what happened.
Oh, okay. So when tribes started murdering the shit out of each other, they didn't institute governments in order to avoid their neighbors killing the shit out of them.
Wait, Connor.
Sorry, I just blew them the fuck out, and I fucking know.
Yeah, most of our world isn't organized in societies with some sort of central government control. That's not a true statement, right, Fabian?
What?
I'm saying chiefdoms arose for the need for power and security. Like,
yeah, and we elected the chief because he kept telling Todd to not fuck his dog because we all thought it was weird. Like,
no,
that's
you already
why.
made the accurate point. That was because you didn't want to be invaded by another chiefdom, right? You didn't want to
invaded by my neighbors?
Fucking the
Those are
dog.
not your neighbors, right? That's
I mean,
another
geographically, they're
tribe of
close
people.
to me.
but
So
you're-
I
They're
would
your mortal
I would
enemies,
call them my neighbors.
Now you're just being pedantic as a means to remake your argument, which is just fucking wrong.
So
Connor, just stop telling me you want to fuck dogs, okay?
So-
Just stop telling me
right.
that.
I tried to tell you before with the dildo talk that it's fucking 2 days till No Nut November's over, and now
Well,
you're
I hope
now
nobody's
you're
getting
obsessed
turned on by
with
fucking
dogs.
got a
dogs.
lot
Holy
of-
shit.
Yo,
And-
beast
I mean,
mode is
I'm worried about you, brother. Do you need to yerk your gherkin and come back?
No, I elected
Need
Chief
some,
Grug because he
clarity.
told me that he would get Todd to stop fucking his dog. I specifically elected Chief Grug based off of that fucking platform.
So I think this.
Yeah, wait,
Now
one
Todd's
second.
still
Wait,
fucking his
can I
dog,
just
goddammit.
ask? Can I, Fabian? I know this is like kind of a meme question at this point, but can you just like answer the question?
Oh my God! What?
So, if you're aware that your neighbor is purchasing dogs for the specific purpose of fucking them to death and then burning them in his backyard, what right do you have to go and tell your neighbor to stop this?
Do
If
we- do
your
you just
position,
wanna-
I'm not
your
in,
position-
like at
if
a
your
certain
position-
point. I'm just not engaging with ludicrous bullshit, right? Like you're,
Okay,
you're
so let's
taking
not. Okay,
extreme
so I'll be a
animal
little less
abuse,
extreme.
like
And
I'm
cap
So,
isn't.
okay, so wait 1 second. I'll be a little less extreme. Okay.
okay.
So let's.
I
say
don't
someone-
like I'm done.
Let's
Like
say
I just
someone.
just-
Let's say someone
Specify.
lives across the street from the school, and they want to have like a statue of like a big old dick in the front yard, right? So what?
we've already
is there-
discussed this multiple
Wait,
times.
hold on, but you keep
right?
saying why can't we just leave people alone? Can you acknowledge there's some situations where even on someone's property, right, even if it's not physically hurting anybody, we can't leave them alone. We might need to get involved and get them to stop doing this.
Right, but you don't need the state. My argument was never that people can do whatever they want. My argument wasn't people can fuck dogs or put giant fucking penis statues in their front yard next to schools. My argument was that you don't need the state to create laws to have a fucking group of paid fucking employees through taxes to be a fucking nanny and come in and fucking like write bullshit letters to try and justify their own fucking jobs about somebody with a rainbow house that apparently everybody fucking liked. It's a waste of time and resources. What I'm saying is that there are better ways that we can handle these situations, and you can do so without fucking creating dumbass fucking laws and hiring useless government employees that aren't fucking helping people.
Like cops.
Dude, I call cops
do that.
oathbreakers all the time. I'm
Cops,
for private.
cops
I'm
are
for
beautiful people.
I'm for
I love
community
cops.
policing and privatized policing.
I'm
via
just
contracts.
lot
messing
better.
because I know Connor's on the
Privatizing
panel.
policing,
I'm
that
just,
sounds like a worse idea.
I'm just-
It's all right. Listen, I stand by why I elected Chief Grug. Okay, so I'm good.
Look,
with
you
it.
just want the orcs in power.
I
okay,
applaud
bud?
you for electing him for trying to get out Todd the dog fucker. Because
So
fuck
it's-
Todd the dog fucker.
Fucking Todd the dog fucker.
So what-
Either
what-
that or
This is a new
like
one.
honestly but like it's been tough to get Todd to stop. So honestly, we might need to involve like the dog fucking arbitration fucking panel and see if we can get them.
Yeah.
to
So
stop.
if you're saying that the state doesn't need to be involved, like what if this person just doesn't care that the insurance company's not covering their house, or that what if you. Yeah, what if they have money, they don't give a fuck about the community being upset with them. They're gonna
So
keep
when
it
the
taking their
entire
lawn and
community
being
is
peaceful.
upset and you have no protections and you're raping dogs to death, what do you think happens to a person that has
a
absolutely
lynch
no
mob, which is
protection?
why we have
Oh,
cops
you're
and
saying that-
laws
yeah.
and republics. Like
You're
holy
saying that
shit.
They'll be-
the,
thought he
like,
Like I
wasn't
can
for
guarantee you they'll be
vigilante?
forced out of the neighborhood in some capacity or another.
Yeah,
they'll be murdered.
probably
And
at
that's
the end
still a
of
murder.
yeah.
so we want.
He'll
so
be
you-
forced
you-
out,
you
all
wanna-
right.
was good, right?
You want to siding with somebody who the neighborhood for whatever reason just doesn't fucking like. That it would be you think it's reasonable for that neighborhood to get together and to use violence to force that person out of their house.
I never said that.
Seems
You're taking
that is
your
what
It's
you're
almost
extreme
like we should have,
situation
like,
and then
professionals
trying to make it normative.
With
almost like
state,
you're
yeah,
full of
it's
shit,
almost like
and
we
I
should.
don't engage in your
It's
rhetorical
absolutely what you're
lies.
saying.
Well,
That's not
dude,
at all
it's
what I'm
almost
saying.
Not a lie.
it's almost
That's
like we should have a
the- that's
professional
the-
force with rules about their conduct on how they fucking handle like Todd the dog fucker. Like it's
Look,
almost
if
like we
you-
should
if you
form an
want Todd to-
institution
if
specifically
you
to
want-
deal with that.
If you want
Right,
Todd to
we
stop fucking
specifically
dogs,
have
you
that
have to,
under
like,
anarcho-capitalism.
use authoritarian.
Private police. Okay.
Yeah, the private police just recreating the state, but okay.
Wait, I don't
There's-
understand
but
why
there's
you're,
no
why you're
monopoly
afraid
on
of, you're
force and
afraid of
violence.
discussing the consequences.
Whenever the
of
police
shit you're
literally
saying.
like enforce
Like,
them.
I'm not
It's-
afraid of discussing the consequences of the
Then
shit
why are
I'm
you
saying.
avoiding it?
I'm not agreeing with I'm not agreeing with your reframing of things by taking an extreme and then making it normative. Right? It is not. It is
when you said they'd be
extreme.
forced out of the community, what you mean?
Well, there's a whole number of things. First, they lose their protection. There's different.
What does losing their protection mean? Just be very clear about it. What is losing?
losing their
protection?
protection means that all kinds of bad things could happen to them, and there'd be nobody to
No,
fucking
what do you
help
mean
them.
by
You
losing
name
their
one.
protection?
He wants you to just say
Somebody
something
might kill the
outside
guy
of-
that's raping
No.
dogs to death.
No, I'm saying when you say lose their protection.
Are you
mean that-
okay with
that
them
the-
killing that guy?
That the
I think that
community is
person
no
should be
longer gonna
punished, but
respond
you know,
to-
I might also kind of like but at the same
Are you
time,
saying
like
that the community
I'm
is
against
no longer
capital
going
punishment.
to respond to
You can go to
people
a
coming
private
to
prison.
their property and hurting them in some way?
I'm sorry, what?
When you say lose their protection, do you
Mhm.
mean they're going to lose the protection of the community when it comes? So someone were to show up at their house and just rob them, the community would no longer feel obligated.
Right,
to go and protect
you don't have a state, and when you don't have a state, every neighborhood is going to be different, right? That's why I said there's a multitude of options here. Worst case scenario is someone kills the dog fucker, right? The best case scenario is that they live in an HOA type situation. Their property probably has certain agreements. The rights enforcement agency probably has permanent agreements. They agreed to a police force, right, via contract when they purchased that property. And that police force, via the contract that they agreed to, has the right to enact certain policies that are agreed to via contract. One of them, I assume, would likely be animal abuse. This person would then be taken and either excised from the community, or there's a multitude of different things that community may choose to do in regards of their policing practices. The difference, right, is that individuals voluntarily move into the neighborhoods that they want to move into and voluntarily sign the contracts that they want to, right? So then it's not no rules, it's just no rulers, right? The entire process is voluntary.
Yeah, so how is this, like, I mean, so far as I'm aware, people generally aren't forced to move into a community with ordinances and regulations as to how they can conduct themselves, right? So how is this any different than what's currently going on?
Because you have a process by which people vote things, and you don't get a choice on those new things.
You have a process by which you vote things. You vote for your city council. Like, it's the same.
Right, exactly. It's tyranny of the majority. You take a bunch of people, and
so when you vote for things,
you're still
when you vote for things, even in your anarcho-capitalism,
you're being absurd. You know that Proudhon, the fucking inventor.
I don't care about Proudhon. He's dead. No one cares.
Right, exactly. But you know that anarchism is against democracy.
Okay,
because it's about consensus.
Fabian, how did things get into the contract in the first place?
Because people voluntarily signed the contract.
No, but who decides what's in the contract that they're signing?
What if you
the seller of the home?
Wait, so the individual homeowners get to decide the contract?
Yes, and if you don't like it, don't buy the fucking house.
Wait, okay, but what if I purchase a home with a contract that said that I didn't need to give a fuck about animal rights or having my dick in my lawn?
Then you're fine.
Wait, but then maybe I'm like not understanding.
Can we like move into closing statements?
No, 1 second. You just said that the homeowner
Doobie wants to take this all the way down.
The homeowner,
he wants to frame the fucking conversation.
I'm just trying to understand what you're saying.
Questions.
I'm just trying to understand what you're saying.
Fuck off. No, fuck off. Listen.
Why are you afraid of? Okay.
I'm not afraid of questions.
You said that the homeowner decides what the contract is. Why does the homeowner decide it and not the community?
Because they're the seller of the fucking house.
Okay. So then why would this person lose their protection within this community if they're complying with the contract that the homeowner gave them, if that contract didn't include animal rights?
Because I'm not moving into a neighborhood that doesn't have a police force where everyone fucking agrees not to fuck dogs to death.
So
I don't live in that community.
So there is like a common contract for the neighborhood that people sign on to, correct?
Yes.
A social contract?
Okay. Who decides
it's not a social
contract? Who decides
contract.
what is in the contract for the neighborhood? Who decides what's in that contract?
Probably the person that built the neighborhood, or the company that built the neighborhood, or a group of people that agreed that had ownership of those things communally. It could be an ESOP, right? There's a ton of scenarios here. You're trying to engage in a specific scenario. But the fact of the matter is that you could have a housing development company that is an ESOP model, right? It could be a community of people. Hell, they could all agree voluntarily to vote on things, and that's perfectly fine because they agreed voluntarily to do these things. But I never signed any fucking contract in America that agreed to live under the rules and the legislation that I currently live under. I didn't get that choice.
So is this company democratically run?
The company could be democratically run.
What's
Actually,
incentive to
this conversation makes me even more thankful.
It could be better, it could be worse.
This conversation makes me even more thankful that you think voting is immoral, because I don't want you influencing my government in any fucking way. It's like, holy shit.
Okay, cool. I'm glad.
Okay, are we done?
We get it. We know you're an authoritarian.
Could you stop trying to run my panel? Thank you. All right. So, I haven't. So much of this has been involved with Scott, and I didn't really get an answer from everyone else, right? So other people.
Well, you didn't moderate.
Oh, all right, dude. Don't go complain at me, all right? You made ridiculous ass points and people responded to you. Yeah, that's the way it goes. It's how we do it here, right?
No, it's cool. I'm saying just don't be mad that it became.
Hey, I'm not mad about anything. Who said I'm mad, right? I was enjoying it. It was hilarious. But anyway, back to it. So I just wanted to get an answer from the rest of you, right? In terms of like, should other people get this vote, right? In terms of what you do on your property. Right? Because it can go either way, right? You can have the exact same expression in a different community and have different reactions. And so should that be the basis as to why, how you get to operate in your own property? Go ahead.
Yep.
Are you gonna not the electoral college? You're not gonna do that?
Serious.
Okay, thanks.
Serious. I quite like the concept of the Overton window. Like I said, I'm an extreme anti-extremist. Okay, I'm extremely against extremism.
Bad norm.
I'm a hardcore normcore. Okay, I'm a normcorist, maybe you could even say. So I quite like the concept of the Overton window, right? I like the pushing of the Overton window. You know, instead of just like going straight out there, you got the fucking like most radical shit in your fucking house, right? You just push the Overton window slightly, right? You put something maybe a bit out there, but like people aren't offended. It's just a bit, you know, we're pushing the Overton window, right? We do this. Like I said, I don't want to live near fucking weird neighbors. Okay, I don't live near fucking weird neighbors.
Neither do they want to live near you. I'm kidding.
That's what I mean. Nobody wants weird neighbors, right? I might be the weirdo in some communities, and they might be the weirdo in other communities, right? So we have this slow little push towards what the society changes. Quite frankly, I'm okay with this because society is moving more left as like the generations pass. So I think that the good ideas, leftism, will win out. And again, we just slowly push this Overton window towards the left more and more and more, and everything's great.
Okay. Everyone else, I want to hear your responses. Biggs. So same house, different neighborhoods. Should it matter whether the people around you necessarily are offended?
I don't really think so. Like I said, unless there's actual rules in place, or unless you're breaking another law, whether it be like an obscenity law or something like that that's already on the books. But as far as like other people having a vote, I don't think that they should just be able to come and tell you, like, hey, you have to change this, and we don't like because we don't like it.
But Biggs. But that's basically what government is, right? They have a vote, they use the vote, they put an ordinance in place, right? And now they're saying there's that rule.
After the fact.
Yeah, there's that rule. Well, no, I mean before or after the fact, it doesn't matter. I mean the point is that like you want to do something with your property, right? Whether it's before or after the fact.
Then I don't think they should have a say then at all. Then
not at all. So the government, right?
No, you said the people. I'm saying,
but the people aren't the government. What do you?
They're not. That you know that's not the case.
The people aren't the government, and a democratically elected state.
So,
right?
but even in your situation, if there was a place that didn't have any laws, the government didn't have laws, right? But the people in that specific community, like a few neighbors right close to that person, they would not have any say to the state, like just a few handful of people that are neighbors, unless there was some type of a law that would give them the right to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that just because somebody doesn't like it, they should be able to go and just say, hey, you have to do this.
Yeah, no, we got that. No, we got
Okay,
that. Right?
sure.
Yeah. But the laws, right, are created by the community. Again, I'm assuming these are democratically elected people have agreed to these things, right? They're created by the community. And an HOA, to a certain extent, is created as something like there's got to be some sort of consensus in HOA, right? There is no power that comes out down on high, right, and just says like this is it, right, and there's no other way, right? Like you could change an HOA bylaws, right? So to a certain extent, the community is getting a vote. So should that community ever get that vote?
I don't think so.
No. Okay. So then the anime Hego Faces wrapped house, that's okay.
I mean, like I said, if there's obscenity laws already,
But you see how this is
but that's
circular?
what I'm saying. You can't, like, if there was no obscenity laws saying that you couldn't have that on your house, then yeah, you can have that on your house. Like,
But
that's just the way it
the
is.
laws
right?
themselves
Like,
are the votes. You're saying
Right.
you can't have a vote, but then also the laws that govern.
they're
this-
not the same. You're conflating two different things that are completely different. Okay, the people,
That
like,
shit
we
is-
don't vote for laws. We do not.
We vote for
Right.
representatives
We
who
don't.
have laws. Agreed. Yes,
Yes,
we don't have
exactly.
we don't have a pure democracy.
if-
True,
right.
but whatever.
So if you want to institute by voting, right? By voting, putting people in to make those laws for wherever you live, then do that. But that's the only way you can do it. Like just saying you don't like something and make somebody change something just seems ridiculous.
I guess my problem with what you're saying here, and I think other people are going to say some other things, is that you were saying that there's a one-step removal. This removal being that the representatives created, not necessarily the voters, right? They didn't directly come to your house, surrounded, pure democracy vote. Hey, we don't like this, take it down. You think that one level of separation means anything, right? But in the end, it's individuals, it's the group, it's the community that have decided, have agreed to these laws, right? And then now you are being opposed upon on those laws on your own property. Right, so you're taking that removal, right? That one step of removal, and saying, well, that's good enough. These are laws in place, right?
Right, but
And
the
that's
one
good
step
enough.
you're removing, to me, it sounds like you're removing the due process, right? That's what it sounds like to me. Maybe I'm misinterpreting what you're saying, but like to me, if somebody has something on that other people want to change, there has to be a process to do that through whatever is decided by, whether it's voting through the government, like you say, or instituting HOA guide, whatever it is, there has to be a due process. And I think if they go through that due process, then that's a reasonable thing. But if you just want to say that there's just like people saying that this is bad, we don't want it anymore, and just forcing, I don't know how
I'm
you're
not
going to
saying
force.
that. I'm talking about the government
Okay.
thing. Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
the government thing. Then that's fine. But there has to be a due process, I believe. That's my best like middle ground to the whole situation.
Gotcha. All right, Wordy, I think we understand how you feel about this. Doobie, what do you think?
So you're asking about the case of someone puts like a rainbow flag on their house because they're supportive of like LGBT rights or whatever.
Mm.
The community's offended and they want it taken down, right?
Mm.
I would say that if it's I don't really care about people being offended about a thing, right? What I care about is what's on the books. What's the law say? What does the local ordinance say? Right. If it's in violation of the ordinance, hey, you gotta be in compliance. If it's not, well, fuck. If you're bitching about it, if you don't like it, change the ordinance somehow. Get on the city board, vote for a new representative, whatever the fuck it is. Show up at your local council meetings that nobody ever fucking goes to, and say you want this changed. Right. I think that's what I care about. I don't really care about who's being offended or whatever.
So you are also with Biggs on this due process thing, right? As long as it goes through that process of democracy, where no matter what it is that it's maybe blocking or allowing, you've gone through that process, and then that means it's legitimate.
Yeah, I don't think it's reasonable to say that we'd have like I guess one alternative would be like the neighborhood votes to say they don't like the color of your house, whatever. They don't like that you have a Confederate flag in your house, whatever the fuck it is, and you're forced to change it because of that. That seems strange. I think it should all be done through representatives, through some kind of government organization, and this should be on paper somewhere to say this is specifically what you're allowed to do with your house, and this is what you're not allowed to do with your house. And if your neighbor does something that's not in there and you don't like it, then get it changed. And if that's what Big said, then I'm with Big.
Okay. Jason. You're muted, buddy.
Muted.
Jason.
Pro streamer. So my take on it is straight up like, yeah, regulations, loose regulations that cover the most extreme of situations. I think that there should always be carve-outs for exceptions based off of community need or community want, and you can always appeal to your HOA or your community leaders or your city council for change. But yeah, I mean, some loose regulations just to cover like really fucking crazy outlandish shit, sure. Other than that though, I think that largely you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want with your property. Like it's your property, you're the one that has to maintain it. And you're the one that purchased it, you get the opportunity to dictate that. But sure, yeah, within certain bounds, I mean, obviously, like I said, I'm not crazy about seeing a bunch of Nazi flags on houses or Confederate flags, but maybe that's the consensus of the neighborhood, so I can't say anything. If that's what the consensus is, fucking I need to go get involved and do something to change that.
But when you say that, other than loose like regulations, right? Like those loose regulations become strict regulations, and there could be more regulations, and
But that's why you need to be actively involved at all times to check that. Like that's what it's about. That's what civic involvement is about. And that's why all of us need to be involved on a local level in what's happening in our government, what's happening in our HOAs immediately, so that we can circumvent those kind of issues where it becomes stricter and stricter, or there are things that become outside the bounds of what's normal. That's where the human aspect comes in, and we have to check our own government. And that's why we're here. That's why we're in a democracy, supposedly, so that we can have that check and balance over our government.
Counter.
Yeah, I'm 100% good with like a referendum being the way that things are changed over time. So if somebody does, like, there is no ordinance on the books, and then somebody puts up something ridiculous, and then they vote on a democratic referendum to change the city ordinance, and then they force you to change based off of that said new ordinance, I'm perfectly fine with it. That's absolutely okay and a part of good governance. So
Okay. Let's go to GSU.
I think I answered this one first.
Okay,
Right.
sorry. Go ahead. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Like from
Wait,
okay. Well, we'll say whatever.
What was your question? I had to run downstairs real quick.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Just wondering, like, is it the majority that should have a say, right? Now that say can come in many different forms.
Got you. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I'm always gonna be in favor of an HOA because it's the reality is it's a big asset that you can tie a lot of your net worth or blah 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 into. Not having any type of control and something that's that influential to like the success of you or potentially your children and blah blah blah. I'm not for that. So I think that having HOAs or potentially municipality control over certain situations is a good thing for sure. Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, all right. Now I see where we all stand. All right, fair enough. All right. Okay. So thank you all for that. Much appreciated. To my audience, we will continue on with our open walk-on panel in just a moment. The content does not end. I'm just gonna give these individuals an outro, but we still have more content for you. If you have enjoyed this content so far, I didn't. DBY, you have your hand up. You have your hand up for something. You're just saying hi or bye.
I was hoping to ask Fabian a question before we could close up.
Okay.
Okay. I don't get a closing and I have to answer questions. All right, let's go.
Look, Fabian, I love you. Okay, I know. I feel like I said earlier. I feel like we've been dogpiling on you a bit, but I feel like you're an intelligent person, one of the only intelligent ANCAPs I've ever met. So I feel like you can handle it. And I'm genuinely curious, because what you laid out earlier was that like the people who built the neighborhood or founded the neighborhood or the community would be the ones that would decide what's in the contract that people need to sign on to become part of this community. But I had a thought, like, why is this any different than like the Constitution of the United States that was signed on to by the people who formed the United States, and the states have their own constitutions that were all signed on to by the people who formed the states, and on and on and on and on. Right? Like, how is that any different?
I would say if you want to know why that's different, just read No Treason, Chapter 6, Lysander Spooner's Constitution of No Authority. I never signed the Constitution, and the majority of individuals that were here during the founding never signed the Constitution. I mean, PrimeCayes really kind of showed in his question earlier exactly the problem of the tyranny of the majority. What if you want to build a rainbow house in a Southern Christian Baptist neighborhood, right? And the fact is that people can just vote you immoral. They can vote you wrong. They can vote you as the bad actor, and it doesn't necessarily need to be something bad. And this is why I think that private contracts where individuals actually sign and agree to things are superior to instances where a majority of people vote how you have to behave. I believe in freedom, and if you believe in freedom and individual sovereignty, then you can't be for this idea.
You agree with HOAs? You agree with HOAs, which is a contract that people sign.
I do agree with HOAs, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think there's
if you choose to live in an HOA and you agree to those terms of that contract, then absolutely. Like, because you chose to do that. You chose knowing the risks in those situations.
Yeah, so
what I don't agree with is this random government law coming down from on high that you may or may not have voted for, telling you how you have to behave and act. It's immoral. It's wrong.
Yeah. Infinity on high.
So just really quick. Quick follow-up question. So you didn't sign on to this, right? To the contract.
And neither did my forefathers.
Yeah, but like, how is this any different from like, within your system, people sign on to a contract to move into a community, right? That they had no say in deciding what was in that contract. They signed into this contract, and then their children are born within this community and expected to follow the same rules
So what you're talking about is undue influence contract, right? So you have undue influence, you have duress, you have unconscionable, and you have illegality, right? You're getting into contract law, where you're in a situation where you had no choice but to sign the contract because for whatever reason there was a monopoly that existed, right? And you had to agree to terms that were unacceptable.
Everything in the ANCAP society is duress. You don't even have protection unless you sign the contract. Everything is duress.
That's simply not true. Like I could engage with that some other time. I really don't want this to become another fucking thing where we go through all that. But what I'm saying is you're getting into contract law. And so if you're in a situation, right? And this is true even in these are common law standards, right? Like this isn't anything new like that I'm proposing, right? So if you're in a situation where your only choice is but to sign a contract, then that's not a valid contract.
Can I ask you one quick question before you close? Are the people who don't sign your ANCAP contract protected?
What do you mean there's no ANCAP contract?
Yes, sir. I thought you said there is, right?
No.
I thought you said your communities have a contract and that's the laws that you all obey by and you all sign it, right?
You don't have a monopoly on power and violence, right? Like your home might have a contract. You might have an HOA in your home. Your business is going to have different contracts. If you rent somewhere else, it's going to be a separate set of contracts in the same community. Your insurance company, you have multiple different choices.
I could move into the middle of your tribe and have and sign no legal documents that tie.
You have freedom of association. You have freedom of movement, and you have certain inalienable rights.
Under the Constitution. That's great. That's wonderful.
No, the Constitution doesn't.
I love the Constitution.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to know what ANCAP is, it's like just play Rust for a bit. You'll understand, bro.
I've watched enough Mad Max.
Because the consequences aren't real in Rust, right? So obviously, people are a little bit more tyrannical.
Wouldn't want that to
It's right. It's. I'm just saying it's reductio ad absurdum because the two are just like it's.
It was a joke. I don't think Rust actually. It was a joke.
Yeah, no. But read Anatomy of the State by Rothbard. That's a good place to start.
It sounds like that might indoctrinate you. Everybody, be careful if you're going to read that.
Yes, I will indoctrinate you into individual sovereignty, freedom, and liberty.
Read the Fountainhead, Atlas Shrugged.
No, objectivism is not anarcho-capitalism, all right? She fucking hated ANCAPs and she fucking hated libertarians. She was a bitch to von Mises, she was a bitch to Rothbard, and she was a bitch to Hoppe.
Okay. Great.
What he said.
Sure.
I've actually found my way to agree with quite a bit with FLS tonight for the first time ever. Yeah, so you know.
See, FLS is making progress left and right.
Way to make some points where we can have some.
Yellow pilled. That's the piss pill. You've been piss pilled.
I didn't get a closing. I got a Q&A, but just in closing, I'll just say this super quick. Just leave me the fuck alone. I just want to be able to be left the fuck alone, and I don't want anybody to force me to do anything that I don't want to do. I just want to be able to individually sign and choose what I want to do, and I want that freedom.